A few months ago, Natasha Denona came out with this little mini eye sculpt palette, right? And maybe some of you thought that was the end of it, but no, this is kind of typical of Natasha, where she'll come out with one product, normally a mini, and then do a larger version. She also does like the midis and then comes out with the smaller version. But anyways, we had the little mini eye sculpt. Now we're getting two larger eye sculpt palettes and they're coming out very, very soon. Let's have a little chat about this. So she's doing not one but two palettes, and they are called the New Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone Midi Plus eyeshadow palettes. And the one that's more matte is called Soft, and the one that has some sort of metallics in there is called Dramatic. And according to Natasha Denona over on Instagram, this palette is almost all mattes, which is kind of like, is there a satin or something in there? What's going on? So apparently almost all mattes. What I find quite interesting about this is that each of those columns represents an undertone. So you have your R for rosy, your P for peachy, your Y for yellow, C for cool tone, W for warm, and N for neutral, which I personally like. I think that's really quite interesting. And if I'm 100% honest, the immediate thing that comes to my mind when I look at this is, yes, eye sculpt, but you could also use this on the face. Like, I could see this as being a very versatile multi-use palette. It's quite interesting. And the tones here are very wearable, very usable. It reminds me a little bit of like an updated Biba. So if you liked the Biba, you might like this one as well. And I can't actually remember when she's come out with two palettes at the same time, but apparently there's a first time for everything. This is the Dramatic palette, and no more than the Soft palette. Do you see how each of the columns has essentially a colour story in and of itself? They're the rosy, the peach, the neutral, etc. So this is sort of like a deeper version, but also has some metallics in there. This one feels like a much richer version of the previous one. Again, very wearable, quite nice. They'll be available first on Sephora's app on September 9th because obviously Natasha Denona has got a lot of kind of input from Sephora of late, which is why we see a lot more neutral palettes. But it's coming over to Natasha's own website on September 10th. I am a disgusting affiliate. You can use my code Teresa for some money off. They are $82 each, but you are getting 21.4 grams of product and there are 18 shades in each. So to make of that, essentially, what you will. Do you want my 2 cents on this? Well, you're going to get it anyways, whether you want it or not. So here's the thing. I quite like some neutrals. Do I necessarily make them the core of my personality? No, but I think they have a place. And I quite like these. I like Natasha's formula. Do I think that this is new and revolutionary? No, the colour story in and of itself, we've seen this in other brands, etc. before. It's going to come down to formula. So do you like Natasha's formula? Me? I do. I really like the matte formula. I actually used some of it today. So there's part of me that's looking at this and I quite like it. I can see how I would get some use out of this. Can I just say, and this is the bit that I'm quite excited about, they have also talked about the fact that there is something else on the horizon. And I actually think that based upon what I'm hearing about that these will pair very nicely with that. So what is it that's on the horizon? According to Trend Mood, there's 2 things. So the first is the Neon Dreams eyeshadow palette, electric mattes and holographic toppers, which is why I'm kind of going, I could see how I could use bits of this with something that's more neon-y. You know, I mean, look, I've literally done that today. And apparently there's a Natasha Denona Vogue Edition palette, which is celebrating 100 years of beauty trends, which I'm like, that's interesting. That could be quite nice. The thing that I think about when it comes to Natasha Denona's palettes these days is not so much whether or not I like the colour story, but it's, do I like the shades that's in there? Because the colour story you can mix and match around, because she does make her palettes so that you can knock shades out and like build your own thing. Personally, I don't do that. I'm a bit weird. I like keeping things where they are. But that's how she's making it, is that if you like, say for instance, all the rosies in that one and all the rosies in that one, put them together, smash them together and put them with a couple of other shades from other palettes. So for me, I quite like that. I think that's really interesting. Like I said, is it necessarily changing the game? Not really, right? There's only so many ways that you can do these particular things. Like I said, it's going to come down to your formula. It's going to come down to your specific preferences on this. I personally quite like this. I do. I have the Biba palette and I use that quite a bit. I do quite enjoy it. Like I said, I use it as like a base to jump off from in terms of makeup. And that's what I would be looking at with these. Not necessarily as my one and done palettes. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is just, I'm just talking about me and my personal use. For me, I would use these as like starting off points and then pop in some random bashes of colour to just make it. But like I said, I do think there's like that potential there to also use this as a face thing, because she has out and out said that even the way that she's named them, the C, the R, the Y, etc., is based upon the High Gen foundation line and the concealer line, which I actually have on right now. The concealer, not the foundation. I do want to try the foundation. But yeah, I am interested. I'm going to wait though, because it's not like a need for me right now. But I do quite like it. But again, take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I am a disgusting affiliate. And I do make money from commissions if people use my codes. Yeah. But, you know, that's my own thing. Let me know what you guys think. Are you interested in this? Or are you just like, we've seen this before. Don't necessarily need it. In which case, that's totally fine. But I'm just nosy and I want to know your opinion.